Part 9 Gear Toolbox. If I had named the tool that's a work best to build my businesses, the list would probably not surprise you by this time. It would obviously include the telephone, my first, the mail, my business cards, and my mortgage. I have already told you how the phone can be used profitably with cold calls. If you never did anything else but that, if you could build yourself a good business as a determinant, if I have sold something about the way I keep my records. I use a diary to remind me when to call back long time projects. Whenever I get that from cold calls or from any other method, but let's face it, satisfied customers are the best bet for future sales. That's a way I glad my current life for customer perfectly with my life. While there is always on sit my own computer, I keep two sets of those cards. On at my office, at the dealership, and other the promise, and I keep both sets of cards in fireproof cabinets, which cost 500 USD approx, but they are worth far more than that to me. There is no way I could ever get all the information together again if anything happened to get my files. That's why I keep 3 sets, even though 2 of them are in holidays. Start building your file now. When you make your own file, put down everything you notice about a customer or a project. I mean everything: kids, habits, travels. Whenever you learn about the person, because they give you ways to tell of the prospective customer about things in which he had interested, and that's mean you can disarm him by leading him into subject that make his mind of what you are trying to do, which of course is trade him your product or for his money. There's nothing more effective in selling anything than getting the customer to really that you like him and care about him. The selling situation is, as I have said, I contrast even a kid upward, but that does not mean that you should be late project know this. In fact, the opportunities is what you should be doing. You want him to unwind and trust you. That's why I strongly recommended that you keep mind your files about the seamless bits or information you keep pick up from him about him. Later on, will you get to while subject heading people once you get them to come in. But right now, I want to keep focusing on the process of getting them in. I will mention mail briefly here. It's a subject that's very important to my business, and I should be yours. It spares character I will get on, but right now I want to mention briefly some of the occasions and methods that anybody can use to build business. Obviously, if you help to me the burdens of a customer, his wife, and his kids, if you will have them to in your project file, you imagine the impact if you send them barter cards. If you are selling anything more valuable than greater opening, the cost of doing that well more than paid for by the way reminds them of you the most favorable light. Personalized mail, it's still the best thing that anybody can receive from a salesperson. Some clothing salesmen will be sent their customer pairs that manufacturers put out of a new cost of stores. Now just think of the impact if you write a little note of the site that says, I am holding a 42 regular for you, so please stop by soon and try it on. You upgrade a project at last to call and tell you we does not want that on. That you have is spot getting him from to sell him something else, or at least let him to know you are thinking about him especially. In the car business, direct mail is a regular part of the selling process. The manufacturers provide it, and the displays paid part or all the cost of mailing it out. I use factory pieces of yours and I think they every pretty good. Centrally a lot of better than nothing. But if in just a later chapter I am going to describe my own personal direct mail program. Can you take a person from a develop on your own, at least on your own some ideas on how to make and your own mail contacts with your projects more effective? A small but powerful selling tool. Just about every salesman has business cards, but I know a lot of them who does not go through a box of 500 in a year. I go through that many in a good week if I hate to pick on things to get businesses. I have a very hard this doing it, but if you really had to make that almost impossible choice, I will probably pick my business card. But it's not just a ordinary card. This declare has printed with its salesman name down in a corner, or at least not featured permanently. My card is decidedly my own. If you were had my person and it, of course I pay the extra cost of planting, but so what? If a valuable tool to me. I use it constantly and my tax brokerage nothing I pay out of the business purpose cost me more than half price because I did to pay mass in taxes anyway. Even today, through the cost of planting distinctive calling cards is low, and it's a centrally money well spent. I hate them out over here I am. I even love them who the money and when I pay click in restaurants. Almost everybody drives a car and so what is wishlist the projects, especially when you I love my card with little longer than normal trip. Nothing lives and crazy. You don't want people to think you are too wealthy because they may get to idea to get don't need their businesses. But suppose you say yes 40 for a meal, the normal 15% trip will be 6 when I usually leave my 8 and my card. They are reminder so greeted. I have been known and throw cards on my handful during the big moments and a sport event. At a football game, everybody gets out to west the thousand spread. I will be there holding and weaving the current, and so only I also trying business my cards. With about Alan in the paper bag, so maybe I can literally this man, but that's the 100 cards to get into somebody else who need a card knows somebody just I have made youth commission to make the day worthwhile. You may think that's a stance believer, but I am certain that it's a more sales. I have been also studied a lot of interest in buying from me because trading cards is an unusual thing to do and people don't forget things that lie. The point is whatever there are people are there are aspects and if you are late they know if you're there and what you do. You are building your business. Try to sell everybody you tell to. A lot you probably don't remember the days after a world where when Anson a car was still around. With even in those days, when practically anything with four wheels to make took moments. Even years to get the hands-on was the dog where the could endlessly give away. So one day I met this guy in Las Vegas and we started telling the turns into the very rich man who had been a dealer until he made so money that he retired. When you did still, I asked him hundreds, I cannot believe it. He told me how he did it. He had a rule of that lie followed and made everybody who is a work for him stricter. Not only salesmen but missionaries and the office helped everybody else. Every time the most to someone or tell someone the telephone. He worked asked a question before he died on something else. Would you like to buy a new car without selling, wishing? That's always the rule, and that was built his big businesses selling a car that nobody else could sell. It's like a passing out cards to everybody you meet or do business with. Somebody needs a car who need a car and get 100 amount of the until fairly it's a gate somebody with the market and that's moment. And the three of yourself. What do cards cost? Especially nothing, say 200 that you get only sell for every 1,000 cards you pass out. The cards does not that mean things because the odds are overwhelming on your side. Effective use a business card, which means carrying branches of them the all time and giving them out everywhere, is one of the cheapest businesses building tools you can have. Besides all the waste and hundreds of moments or spending them around. I used in my breeder system. With the subject another chapter, but let me just together some points I have already made. Great's law 2050 tells the what happens when the somebody against you. But even more important, it tells you what happens when you make a friend. A booster is satisfied customer now. Put it together with 250 people. Yes, with your cards has a pocket. You can see what happens. That does not anything else but pull on of them their pockets once a while be excellent. Okay, but businesses is not love, it's a money. Now suppose that every on those 250 people who like even have your card also have in the NFT to get other people to buy from you, and instead like a money or free a dinner or free service. That is basically what I mean. And when I tell about breed dogs, you can figure out a lot of ways of putting that combination together if you build awareness. But if you are going to tell about the ways I have built my breed dog system, there's a point where its product maybe 550 cars sells for every my year by very small out of pocket cost. If you have a telephone, a mailbox, a pen, a file, projects, and business cards, if you have the most valuable tools in the world during business. If you may know others don't know, I always willing to admit that I don't know all three is to know about selling, but I will not admit that anybody in my businesses has ever done better than I have. So tell my where if you win, if that proper use these simple tools can you make the start selling professional. Fill your toolbox and use it all the time. Thanks for listening.